Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I know that you're coming in and joining us now. If you have a chance, go ahead and turn your camera on. We would love to see and connect with you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Latanya. Hi, folks from SJUSD. Hi, Rosa, Vincent. Hi, Margarita. Michael, Judy. Hello, hello. Hi, Kelly. It's been a while since I think I've seen you. Good to see you. All right, folks, as you are hearing us come in, please do turn your camera on. And Kelly, I think you were going to say something.
I was just going to say hello. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you. All right, folks. Well, welcome aboard. We're thrilled that you're here. You are joining the breakout session for Building Systems for Summer and Intersession Success. And what I'm thrilled to do today is there are a couple of folks here that I want to introduce you to, but we're really excited to be able to talk with you about folks that have been working in the trenches, meaning, look, I'm not waiting, I'm rolling up my sleeves, we're taking action, and we're going to try this on and see where it goes, and we're going to learn and iteratively continue to grow and do great work. So I'm really excited about this. So today, the two panelists that are here that are our administrators, the first, Jane Deanna, director. Hello, give a good wave, Jane. Jane's at the Lancaster School District. In a moment, she'll be introducing herself to you. And then also Debbie Loxton. Debbie Loxton is the Interim Senior Executive Director. She's at Beyond the Bell with LAUSD, of course, and she'll be talking with us too. And then I have a special guest that will be visiting periodically with us as well, and that is Sue Javedon. Sue is from the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit. She's a specialist in our office, and she is our subject matter expert on all things summer as well. So she'll be involved. And then Marty Boots is here. Marty, give a good wave. Marty's helping us in the background. So nothing's going to happen well today if Marty's not a part of it. So Marty, thank you for joining us and being here. So with that, welcome everybody. What I'd like to do is just share briefly. It's an orientation today. So both Debbie and Jane have information that they'll be sharing with you. We'll be bringing up some slides to help you visually see what we're talking about on occasion. Additionally, then there will be some tools that we will put as links and you'll have access to after we get through today's presentation, of course. And yeah, etiquette. So stay muted unless we get into conversation with each other, of course, and then you can unmute. Please feel free to use the chat to communicate with us. If you've got some specific questions, if you put them in chat, we'll keep an eye on that, and then we'll try to answer them in real time. If we can't, we'll ask that you give us your communication information. Myself and Marty, we will work on getting the information for you and getting back to you in the email outside of this space. Let's see, what else do I want to share with you really quick? Yeah, so let's start with a little bit of introduction. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask that Debbie and Jane both briefly introduce themselves to you, and then I'll ask a couple others, and then we'll move into presentation for today. So Jane, would you mind starting for us and just sharing a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do?
My name is Jane Deanna, and I have been in the field of education for 25 years. I'm currently the Director of Expanded Learning for Lancaster. I've also been a director up in Roseville for curriculum and staff development. Started my career in Hawthorne as a teacher and assistant principal, have worked in the Sulphur Springs district and Newhall district. So have had a great deal of experience in different settings and learned from each district. So I'm very grateful to be here with all of you.
Thank you very much, Jane. And Debbie, if you would mind just introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you're doing, and what's going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Debbie Loxton. I am with LA Unified School District Beyond the Bell branch, and I am the Interim Senior Executive Director. Prior to this work, I have spent my entire career in LA Unified School District as the Chief Operating Officer for a program called LA's Best. And so my perspective, unlike Jane's, is from one single source, which is LAUSD, which is, and LA's Best was partnership between the school district and the city of Los Angeles. So it's a sort of a hybrid between a nonprofit 501c3 and also a district entity. So that's where I come to you from in this space for this work today.
Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your information with us. Sue, if you wouldn't mind just briefly sharing a little bit about yourself with folks as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Jevedin. I am part of Michelle's team at LACOE with the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit. I have over 30 years experience working with expanded learning, back from the fee-for-service days to working with ACES and 21st century programs with a local school district and a local CBO. So I have on-the-ground experience like many of you, and then I have the experience working with Michelle's team providing technical assistance. And welcome.
Thank you, Sue. All right, folks, for those of you who do not know me, I am Michelle Perrenoud. I am the regional lead in Region 11, and so it's the county lead for the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. And so I've been doing this work for a long time, over 25 years, and really it's a delight to get to work with everyone and support everyone in the great work that you're doing to really serve families and students and schools well, and to really build the capacity of us as a field and in how we're growing together to do this work. So without further ado, I think what I'd like to do is to take a moment and just say if you'd like to either in chat or just, if your camera's on, give a good wave. Wanted to try to just see who's here today. So if you are from a district administrative or instructional team, and that's sort of, your placement, give a little wave, just so folks can see you. All right, and there's two screens, so don't be worried to flick it back and forth. If you are a part of a community-based organization team doing expanded learning work, give a little wave. All right, I'm seeing a few of you. If you are a certificated administrator or teacher, a little wave. Okay, and if you are working in an expanded learning program that's funded right now with ACES and or 21st century funding, small wave. Okay, and let's say you're just brand new. You're new to all of the ELO-P, you don't have any funding, and it's okay. I see that wave there. Yep, whoever you are, we welcome you. So here's the thing, everybody is welcome here. Just as you come, don't worry, no question's not a good question. Ask away. We're going to do our best to help you out. So I'm going to set the stage just briefly then. So we're here to talk about really summer and intersession, and in context of ELO-P, right? So we're talking about 30 non-instructional days and what that means in regards to when does it start and when does it stop during a calendar time. So the 30 non-instructional days really are, they start July 1 and they go through and end June 30th. So when you're thinking about like summer right now and you're planning and you may have a program that's beginning in June, that's really tied to the 21-22 fiscal year and starting July 1, moving forward all the way to June 30th, that begins to be part of your 22-23 fiscal year. So I just want to clear that up for you because a lot of folks, they're like, okay, help me understand the 30 days. They're non-instructional days. They can be holidays, weekends, summer, and breaks. Now, for those of you, if you're here from a charter, it's nuanced, right? Because sometimes on Saturdays, your Saturdays are considered instructional days. So don't confuse that as a non-instructional day. If it's an instructional day, it does not count towards the 30 non-instructional, non-school days. You have to be really specific about that. And then starting July 1 through June 30th. Okay. And of course, holidays, weekends, summer, and breaks. So let's get started. Are we ready to hear from our folks? I think we are. So again, if you have questions, please feel free to use them in the chat. I will be your facilitator today and moderating the conversation. between Debbie and Jane and with Sue. And then Jane also will have some things that she'll bring up occasionally to show you and walk you through as we go through today's dialogue. So let's start with understanding for each of you, if you both just tell us a little bit about your summer program and including how many sites you're operating and perhaps what the dates, like the start and end time are of your program date-wise and the hours of operation. So we'll just start there. And I think what I'd like to do is to ask, Jane, would you mind starting?
Yes, absolutely. I will share my screen. Whenever I do anything, I say, what does Jane need? And Jane is a visual person because Jane, when people talk, it doesn't work for me. I need to see a visual. So for me, I'm presenting in visual format only because that's the way I learn best. So I hope you can see that. Sue, can you give me, Michelle? Good. Okay, excellent. So what we have here is, first of all, I just want to say this is original artwork from our ACES program. So I'm just really proud of this. I love this. So I always start off with that. Summer schedule, here we go. Our summer schedule is in 3 components. We have a summer school schedule that has the before and after school program option. So we're starting the school day for students at 7:30 and we're ending at 4:30. We start our dismissal at 4:45. And again, that's optional for our families. Our site closes at 5:15. And we are going to be providing those meals. So that's what I have there.
Thank you so much, Jane. Debbie, tell us a little bit about how many sites you're at, when your program's starting and stopping, and also just maybe what the hours of operation look like.
So our program is going to start June 14th and go to July 22nd. It is a partnership with the Division of Instruction with LA Unified School District. So the Division of Instruction is running 184 summer school sites that will go from 8 in the morning until 12. And then Beyond the Bell will come in at 12 and go until 6. That is for a certain number of schools, 184. Beyond the Bell is actually running in total 489 summer sites, which will have the schools that are not Division of Instruction. We will be operating from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. So it's a combination depending on where the services are for students in the academic portion.
So perfect segue for me, Debbie. Thank you, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share. We also have, it's a partnership, and thank you for reminding me. That Summer of Fun section, we're actually partnering with a charter for the instructional component. So we have certificated teachers that are involved in that portion. And regarding what we are offering, we have 21 ELO-P sites. We are only operating our program, and I'm just going to skip ahead here. Hold on a second. At 3 locations. And those are our locations right here. So we have 3 locations that we're offering the summer school program.
All right. So that's just to give you an idea of, we've got the continuum here, right? From Lancaster up to LAUSD, different partnerships, internal partnerships, as Debbie was mentioning with the Division of Instruction. She also has external partnerships occurring with her community-based organizations. Jane partnering with the local charter. So there's a lot of different ways that you will be able to do your programming. Number of sites, the locations, the 9 hours, including instructional time with the expanded learning time, what that can look like. So ladies, tell us a little bit about the funding that you're using for summer. And Debbie, would you mind starting?
Sure. ACES, 21st Century, and also ELO-P. So we're using those 3 forms of funding.
So for Lancaster, we are using 21st ELO-P. We also have some state preschool monies that we're using. And my colleague is in the room, Kelly Fountain, Director of Early Learning. And we also have some supplemental monies that are being provided by the district. And Michelle, I just wanted to say that the partnerships, the internal partnerships are critical in summer planning. We would not be able to do it. The Director of Early Learning, Kelly, has been instrumental because my world is not TKK. I do not really have a very strong, deep understanding of what we need to do. And she is working on that UTK program and implementation that's going to be happening. So there is a lot, I rely on a lot of the people internally, including the Director of Special Education, because we have all students participating in our programming. So there is a lot of internal support to make this happen. It is not a one-stop department for sure.
Well, and so let's talk about that. What I'm interested to know from both of you is, this is an incredible opportunity. Now, this opportunity came really fast. It came as a surprise. It didn't come with a rule book, right? And we still don't have one. We're getting some as we go. It's like playing Monopoly with the banker. You find out as you go. So, and that's okay, because we really are exploring how are we going to get there? And it's unique where you are. So tell me a little bit about, after the surprise, how did you get excited about this? And how did you start communicating this internally as a local education agency that is receiving ELO-P funds, knowing that we are looking for a single comprehensive combined program? But we have to start having conversations about this, and it starts inside. So if both of you could just elaborate a little bit about, what was it like to learn about this, try to figure it out, and to bring on board your internal collaborating partners. And Debbie, if you don't mind, could I ask you to start that conversation?
Sure, happy to. So one of the models that we had was last summer, we had the opportunity to provide services to more sites with additional funding. And so we sort of had this notion that we could do it, right? Because really in the summer, we're running far more programs, if you look at the length of time, than we do during the regular 180-day calendar. And so a couple of things we were thinking about was, and actually I love that things are a surprise and that things are not codified and all of that, because I like to make it up as I go along and then download the protocols after about how to do that, right? So you pretend like you knew the rules all along. So, and that's a good place to be in, I think, because it sort of gives us the expansion to be able to think about it. And I think that when I think about this work, I think, like, we all have thoughts, right? But there's no beginning and or middle to our thoughts. There are just continuous thoughts that happen. And so one of the opportunities for this funding is to be able to think about all those thoughts that everybody's having and see how you can piece them together, see how you can weave them into something that looks like a comprehensive program that everybody can have participation in. So we have internal agency partners that partner with us to do our after school work and our before school work. And then we also have external partners that help us do the work as agencies, as CBOs. And then there's another layer that we have, which is the larger LA community, to be able of philanthropists and of social justice folks and city and libraries and public entities that all came together to say, what's the summer of fun look like? And what are the supports that we can provide for everybody so that we equal this opportunity for all students in Los Angeles. So whatever program they're interested in participating in, there's some place for them to go. So being in those different conversations, I think, is really helpful, because it also sparks creativity and ideas for you to be able to think about, oh, I didn't think about that, because I've been so entrenched in this one form of expanded learning money that we know, everybody knows what the ACES and 21st century money is in terms of what are the conditions to apply it, what are the rules, what are the things, what do you have to do and what do you have to believe. But the new opportunity, I think, is to be much more expansive in who sits at the table and how they're helping us to think about what we maybe haven't been paying attention to, and what new ways can we approach the work so it's not parallel. It is actually, it sets the conditions for it to actually be truly collaborative. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, Michelle, but that's sort of the approach.
It really does. And I want to pull a detail out here before we come to you, Jane. And so the collaborative around the Summer of Joy and Fun. What I love about this, and I don't know if you guys heard this, I know a little bit because of course I'm in LA, but I want to draw just a little more out here. So what I love is you could create a collaborative of folks that are around you, partnerships of folks that are interested to come together, not in competition, but really in a way to support one another, to provide more supports to students, families, in community, through schools and through organizations. So one of the things that I'm hearing here that I'd like you to elaborate a tad on is that this collaborative is saying, how can we bring together our resources to look at creating field trip opportunities across LA County, across LA City, and how do we coordinate efforts so that not all of us are doing it, but all of us are contributing to it occurring and have partnership and benefit in that. So Debbie, can you just talk a little bit about some of the ways that maybe that network or collaborative is working together to benefit all?
Sure. So it's sort of a 4-bucket approach, right? The first one is, how do you create these enhanced summer programming? That's pretty much everything that we all know how to do, but how do you do that on a larger scale where there's a general contribution to the greater good? So it doesn't matter where a child is, where they are, that whatever zip code they're in, they would have a summer opportunity. And there's not a competition between, well, I don't want you to have that summer opportunity because that's not beyond the bell. I want you to have a summer opportunity. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we're really looking at partnering in terms of staffing. So there's going to be this massive citywide job fair where all of the entities that have programs to provide summer opportunities for kids will be there. So it's not just, well, I'm in competition with another entity. I'm not in competition with another entity. We're partnering together to have a citywide job fair. And then also we're partnering to be able to provide field trips. So what does the field trip look like? What is the field trip experience? Leaning on our philanthropic partners, ones to fund it and also to help us, create the opportunities for getting into those venues. So they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of figuring out where to go, how can we go there, making those calls. And so it's a partnership in that respect. And then family awareness and access. The other thing that we're doing is there's going to be, I don't think it's launched quite yet, but there will be a website for all of the city that you can click on and it'll send you to everybody's program. So a parent can look at one stop for all of Los Angeles to say, these are all the things that you can do for summer. It's not just the district, it's not just the city, it's not just Parks and Rec, it's all of us together. And you can figure out what those resources would be for you. And then we're also doing a data collection. So we're going to look at the data and see what are the things that we can find out from this summer so that it will help inform next summer. So this is the second year we've tried this, what we're calling Summer of Fun, Summer of Joy. And the first year was, just trying to figure out new ways to support students. Now it's been sort of like honed in on those 4 areas. Do you have any other questions about that, Michelle, or is that?
No, I think that's good. That's perfect. And what I like about this then is it allows all, let's say, LEAs in the area that are participating, schools, et cetera, to say, here's how I can coordinate transportation to the event. You own that, but they're helping you with a larger connection to access of things. So I think that's important to think about, folks, as a best or promising practice that you could lean into within your own communities. So Jane, I'm going to come to you. And again, I want to come back to internal partnerships. And you've mentioned, how important your connection is with Kelly Fountain. Give a wave here, if you don't mind, to folks. So Kelly and Jane work very closely together. Tell us a little bit, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I work at LACOE. It is not easy even for us to say, hey, this great opportunity is here and we want to tell you all about it, and doors just fly wide open and seats are there, right? I'm not saying it's not hard, but I'm not saying it's easy either. So lots of opportunity, knocking on doors, trying to come together and work together. Jane, tell us a little bit about what that's been like at Lancaster and now where you're at in your partnerships internally.
I don't knock on doors. I actually kick them in. No, I'm joking. I make my, I'm loud. I'm Italian. I'm loud. So people know I'm coming, and I have been on the horn. Kelly has heard me because I hear of her UTK. It's like, you have to constantly bring it to the table. You cannot just, it's not a one and done. You have to advocate for the right work to be done. And you have to get the buy-in of everyone, because everyone has, they don't have the complete knowledge of the assurances of what we are required to do, what we currently are doing, and what it's going to look like. So it really was starting with baby steps and just saying, okay, this is the current work we're doing. This is how it's different, and revisiting. I have been on the cabinet agenda every month. I have presented to different groups soliciting input. So it has been a process, and it continues to be a process every step of the way, not only in cabinet, but executive leadership. I have meetings every week related to programming, and we also have union things that sometimes block the process a little bit because there's just a certain practice in every district has their own practice, and we have to follow the protocols as directed. So I work as best I can, and I try to involve everyone in communicating what has happened one group, so everyone can be on the same page. But it's been challenging and continues to be challenging. But the great news is that we have done really good work. This is our 4th summer that I have been in charge of. So we ran, even when we were closed, we had a complete online program. Then we had a hybrid last year, and we're coming back now to full summer, and we're just adding that before and after school piece. So for us, and we're adding a transportation piece. I'm not sure if you want me to talk about how the advertisement went for that, Sue, but I mean, Michelle. But one of the things that was critical is the partnerships that we have with existing outside providers. And one person is in this room right now. Sandra Denkovsky has worked with me in several districts. She's right now supporting several districts with summer school and ACES and Saturdays. And I'm fortunate enough to bring her in this summer in a capacity that we've never done before, to do push-in enrichment. So we're doing these rotations and menus, and not only utilizing Sandra, who does 21st century and ACES work and summer work for me, but also bringing in people from the community that I have gone out and looked at and found people and said, are you willing to come in and share your expertise and build that career component, because we want to motivate our students. So I'm excited. I mean, every day it's a new challenge and opportunity for me to grow and learn and incorporate these people that we have around us. You just have to, it's a lot of work to establish those relationships, but I'm really grateful. I have yoga and mindfulness from a woman who is from the community, a person who has a nonprofit, who is a parole officer, who he wants to stop the school to prison pipeline, and he created this sports organization, and he's coming in. And then we have a local music teacher who is a performer, and it's coming together.
Awesome.
We'll see.
Well, okay, guys. So one of the best and promising practices I just heard there is compassionately feel free to kick the door down. Not really, but go out there and start making connections with folks and, making room and inviting them to have a conversation with you. And it may take persistence, but I think wonderful things occur. And I think that Kelly and Sandra, at least certainly in Lancaster, can attest to that. I hear really wonderful things all the time about the work that you guys are doing together. So we have a couple of questions here in the chat that I would like for us to take a look at and address. So first thing, thinking about registration, right? So is there a time frame for parents to register? Now I'm going to share a best and promising practice really from the perspective of the Los Angeles County Office of Ed Technical Assistance team is that if you are able to work with your district, and you may or may not be able to, right? So if you are, that you would include enrollment into your summer and your ELO-P program during the instructional 175 days, and for all of your intercession activities, that enrollment is just part of what parents complete when they're enrolling their child for the whole school year. Now, with that being said, you may need an opt-out plan also, but I'll just say you should, if you're not, be considering that, and who do you need to be connecting with now? But I'm going to step back now. I'm going to ask our experts, one, are you charging a registration fee? Two, is there a time frame for registration, or how are you doing it? Because remember, enrollment is important and providing access is important when we think about ELO-P. And then there's one additional note here about fingerprinting and TB requirements for volunteers, et cetera. So I'm just gonna suspend our plan forward and say, lean in, you guys. Let's tackle that right now. And Jane or Debbie, please, whichever would like to go first.
I'll go. So in terms of enrollment, we do not have a timetable on that. We are enrolling students as they want to and are interested, and we have an online process for that. In terms of fees, no, we do not charge any fees for any of our programming. And fingerprinting and background checks, it's the same conditions for employment for the district. So we make sure that anybody who has a contract with LAUSD goes through the vetting process.
Thank you, Debbie. Jane, how about you?
So the first thing is regarding charging a fee, we do not charge a fee for our programming. So that's that. Regarding the fingerprinting, so hold on 1 second, please.
Folks, if you want to charge a fee, you can. We're not saying you cannot. Fees are permissible. It's just that both of our subject matter experts, both of their districts are not. Just want to clarify that to you.
So sorry about that. I had somebody walk in. So regarding the fingerprinting, our providers, we work with our providers, and they secure the fingerprinting for their employees. But this year we actually, because we're actually bringing in people ourselves. So we are going to be starting our own process to manage the fingerprinting. So we are working with our HR department. We are creating a form for our vendors to fill out, saying all of their information, who their employees are. And then what we are going to give them is there's a slip that HR has that then we get the clearance sent to us. So we will have their fingerprint form on file. So we use Google Forms. I don't know if any of you use Google Forms, but ELO is going to create the form. And what we're going to do is we're going to give the spreadsheet to the HR department. So as the fingerprints are cleared, they will enter it. Then we will notify the vendor that they are allowed to be on campus and their employees are cleared. So if there ever is a hit, we get it directly. So that's how, with this new addition of having people on the outside coming in directly, because we are responsible now for our new parties that we're bringing in, it definitely involves more work, but we want it to happen, and our providers also monitor the fingerprinting. I hope that makes sense. Did that answer your questions, Michelle?
It did. And then so I want to clarify a couple of things here. Folks, when you're braiding your funding, so with ELO-P and ACES and or 21st Century, the requirement for staffing is the minimum qualification for instructional aid based on the LEA, right? So you'd want to be checking to see if that exists. In regards to ELO-P, I have not seen specifically it's tied to similarly to what ACES is. So again, minimal requirement for instructional aid based on the LEA. Now back to charging fees. Although both of these entities are not, it is permissible. However, you are not able to charge a fee to students receiving free and reduced program meals, to students who are experiencing homelessness per McKinney-Vento, and to students that are foster students. So those three students groups, you are not able to charge fees to. Just want to be really clear about that. All right. With that, Mrs. Greta, I see you have your hand up. Would you like to go ahead and unmute?
Hi, thank you. I am Miss Greta. Well, they call me Miss Greta. I work with Sacramento Chinese Community Center, and we are a provider for the Sacramento Unified School District. ELO-P funds is the first time I heard of it. Is that something that district can only apply to, or can community-based organization also apply to that fund to support their organization?
Sure, thank you for that question. It's a great question. So ELO-P funds are funds that are distributed to the lead educational agencies that are either districts and or charters that provide classroom-based instruction. And the prioritization is for TK through grade 6. So folks, if you are a community-based organization, you would want to be connecting with and working with the LEA, so either the district and or a charter as a community-based partner to inquire with them about opportunities. The funding is apportioned to the LEA from the state, so it's not an application process. But great question. Thank you so much for that.
Michelle, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to know if it was possible for me to address the enrollment.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Please.
So with enrollment, and I'm actually going to share something as I talk through it. With enrollment, what we don't close our enrollment, but we do when we have reached capacity, because we do not have the staff to make sure that we can keep our ratios. We create a wait list, and it's an ongoing wait list, so people can continuously register. But what we have done is we do a lot of our planning. We created a feedback to do the initial planning, so we could figure out, number one, communicating what's going on to our families, that we have a new program, we have new ratios, letting them know our locations, letting them know that we have 3 different options and families can take all 3 options, or they can just take our summer of fun option, but they have flexibility. We make sure that they are aware of the meals. We're going to be offering field trips. Does that interest them? And that we make sure they know that it's for free. So we use all of this planning information, which we did months before we went into our offer for the programming. And our offer for programming changed a little bit based on the information we received. So it's not that we just opened up our summer school and said, okay, we're going to go. We got the feedback, and then we adjusted the feedback. And that was, we reduced our locations because it didn't look like having the 4 locations, it wasn't going to be cost effective, and there really wasn't going to be enough enrollment. The other thing is we made sure that after that feedback from our survey, we saw that our families really, really wanted to make sure that their children had those field trip opportunities and career exploration. So we really are beefing that up. The other thing is we created the FAQs because we did have some free response questions, and we do try to give information, but we realize that no matter how much information you give, there will always be questions that come up. And so we created our FAQs and updated them. We update them every year. We also have our website that we advertise, and then we have the application. One of the other things that as a result of our feedback was that, and this is the first time we're doing this, we're offering transportation, because again, we have 21 ELO-P sites that qualify. And we needed to make sure that we were providing access. We used our survey information to create the hub. So we have 7 locations. And they were strategically positioned, so this way families could walk their children to locations, and we could provide access. So parents can drop off directly. They don't need transportation. They don't need it. If they need it, they can get the transportation. And yeah, that's it.
So I love that. And what you can see right there is a lot of different systems internally that have to be considered, and internal partners. And I'm sure, Debbie, for you as well, there's a lot that goes into selecting sites, having hub sites. What does communication with parents look like? A lot of work has to go in on the front end to be at a place where we're ready to say, this is what we have. So anything that you would like to add there, Debbie?
Just one of the things that we've done is, in partnering with Division of Instruction for those schools that are having summer school, is when a child signs up for the summer school program, it also sends them automatically to a link to sign up for the expanded learning program. So it's sort of seamless for a parent. We're really trying to communicate that there is a 9 to 10 hour opportunity for your child during the summer.
That's great. So I want you guys to think about this, right? You're seeing, you're hearing about different approaches. You're seeing visually how Jane is connecting this and sharing this information with people that she's trying to onboard. Everybody from, you can see parents and guardians, students, administrators that she needs to be able to communicate information to, that need to understand this, possibly more than just in words or in writing, but what does this look and feel like? So I'm very interested. We've talked a little bit about how we're generating some excitement internally and externally, but what I'm interested to know, and you might be too, is single comprehensive program, bringing new partners to the table. How do we get to a single comprehensive program? Meaning, there has to be some legwork that goes into this to find out what's the need of students and families, and how will we as instructional folks and expanded learning folks come together to meet that need. So was there a goal in mind? Is it around improving math and literacy? Is it around well-being and social emotional learning? How did you figure out what's important about summer and what will be important as part of your Intersession offerings? I mean, how did you get there? Because I think people are, they're poking around at that, but they're still not really sure. So tell us a little bit about that messy work there, if you don't mind. And Debbie, I'll come to you first.
Sure. So a couple of things that we were thinking about, so one is the whole child approach. And for LAUSD, it's very important that students have academic supports, particularly post-COVID, right, to be able to shore up their learning and their skill sets. And so for the expanded learning piece, we really are focusing on 4 areas of engagement. The first one is, academic enrichment. So how are we engaging them in fun and exciting STEM activities, and those activities that are going to enhance their learning through exploration and also through project-based learning. And then physical engagement. We want our students to be active this summer and to be able to engage in those activities. We also want them to have creative engagement. So what are the things that they're interested in? What are their creative outlets? And then design programs around that. And then social engagement. So how are we connecting to their needs? How are we connecting to building upon their relationships, of understanding who they are and how they show up? So those are the 4 areas of engagement that we're looking at. One, there's different components depending on which program they're in, whether they're in an 8 to 6 program that's completely expanded learning, or whether they're in a 12 to 6 program. So it just lends for more opportunities to plug in and do these things. And I think for us, also the nutritious meal is really important. So students will be receiving lunch and supper during our summer program time. And thinking about it, I think for us, we recognize that it's really building on the interests of the children that are signed up for your program. So we don't look at it as there's, 6 components and these are the 6 things we're going to do at every school across the district. We look at it as these are areas of engagement and giving the individual sites autonomy to talk to kids, to listen to children's voices, to figure out what they're interested in doing, and then build those engagements around what kids are actually interested in doing for the summer.
And doing that then, I imagine, in partnership with your community-based organizations that are providing staffing and programming at those sites. So it is going to be autonomous in a way and unique, yet the overarching single comprehensive program through LAUSD Beyond the Bell has this overarching, this is what it will look and feel like, but it is going to be unique depending on where you're at and with whom.
It is. We have 22 unique community-based organizations that partner with us, and they're going to be in about a third of the schools. So really it is a collaborative process of figuring out what everyone's capacity is. I mean, look, I'm sure the biggest question, well, at least it's still a question for me is, anybody that says they're fully staffed, I want your number, because I'm not fully staffed and neither is anybody else that I know of. So those are, there's the human capital constraint, right? And then there's the constraint of what is actually happening in programmatic areas and what we can do. And then it's like really figuring out what that balance is to provide really good comprehensive services to students, and what does that capacity look like over time. Now, and that's given that everything stays the same with COVID, right? So anything changes, then we're all going to have to be able to be flexible enough to make those shifts. So yeah, it's just really, and I like to take the approach of start close in, that thing that's right in front of you for today, right? And figure that out. And then those things, the other pieces fall into place. Because I think if COVID taught us anything, it's that, whether we thought the world was predictable or not, it isn't, right? So our programming isn't predictable. We can have these great ideas, we can have these great concepts, we can say, oh yeah, we're going to do all of this and it looks really great on paper, and we're going to assess it this way and we're going to look at it this way. But those aren't realities. The realities are what's happening on that day and with that kid, right? So that's sort of like the approach. It's like you have these big concepts, and then how do you mold things around them and be flexible enough to shift if you have to.
Absolutely. Now, you did talk a little bit about those unique community-based organizations, and you have more than a handful. So we have an inquiry in the chat. Inquiry is, do you have MOUs with each of them? And does the funding that they receive cover all the costs? So could you just, at a nutshell, right? Not a dissertation, because it could be a dissertation. This is, we could get into the depths here, folks, but could you just hit on MOU, contract, and what does it look like in dollars and cents at a very high level?
Yeah, sure. So we're trying to keep our contracts consistent with our community-based organizations to those contracts that they already had existing prior to summer, right? Prior to the new money. It is a contract. They enter into a contract with us to say these are the services they're going to provide. There's delineations in that contract about what services will be provided. It is a full weight-bearing contract. So when you enter into the contract and it's X amount of dollars, then the agency takes on the responsibility to provide the programming that they say they're going to provide for that amount of programming, for that amount of dollars. So we don't really get into how they're going to do that. That's something that individual agency decides when they sign the contract to say they're going to partner with Beyond the Bell to do this work. We also have smaller contracts and MOUs with specific agencies that might be providing a specific service, like arts education and or music and dance. And those are smaller contracts where we will contract with people to come in and bring on a specialized program onto the campuses. Is that enough or not enough, Michelle?
No, I think that's right on, because it gives a spectrum of what is really possible. And again, it depends on the LEA or the charter that is receiving this funds and what their approach is. So thank you for asking that question, Irene. So Jane, I'm coming back to you. The question really is, how did you set your overall goal? How'd you get there? And then how are you designing to meet that expectation? So turn it over to you.
Well, I want to say that what we do is we keep data on our programming. So on our Saturdays, our intersessions, and our after school. And one of the things that stood out is the need for social emotional support. And it is very evident that our students, the impact of COVID that it had on them, not only academically, but social emotionally. So we are focusing on the social emotional learning and supports is huge. So we're supporting that. That is a goal to help students. We're going to hopefully have very few incidences. We've hired counselors to be part of the summer school, and they will be there all day. They are going to be there for the entire 9 hours. So they're going to be doing community circles and working with students, and also identifying the students with the high needs to really give them the small group and one-to-one support, because we know these students. And when you look at our program is 17 days. We reduced it by 3 this year, but it's going to be 17 days of intentional work, because we're going to make sure that we're going to do it for everyone, but we're really going to provide the individualized support to the students who are enrolled. So, and that takes time to go through and look at who are we serving, who are the students with the highest needs, and who are the students who have learning differences, because we need to make sure that we are addressing those. So that's a lot of the back end work that we do. Our academic enrichment is built in everything we do. Our work is the same as the school day, but it's different. It's not extending the school day, it's expanding. So we have learning intentions, we have vocabulary, we have success criteria, we have career exploration as one of our overarching goals. Career exploration, anything that we do connected to a field trip, any unit of study, we look at the careers and what you need to be a part of that career. Physical education, because we are in the Antelope Valley and it gets super, super hot, we have to make sure that in the morning, all of our programming is going to be before school is all of the physical activity outside. So we're going to have stations, and students are going to be able to explore whatever they want, whatever they're drawn to. Now, I want to point out, Kelly Fountain said to me, "What about the TKK, Jane?" And I said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "you need to make sure that these are students, some of them the first time they're going to be on campus. So we need to pull those students." So she's working with me to formulate how we're going to create those options. And I'm going to share something in a second, a visual for you, so you can see what that looks like for that single comprehensive plan. But all of these little logistics and saying, how do we offer, which we have the social emotional, we know how we're going to do that. The academic enrichment is going to be happening during the summer and the after school portion. The physical will be happening for sure before school, but also during the summer and after. It's just not going to be outside. And then the other piece was the career exploration, which everybody's going to be part of that. One of the things that Debbie said that I wanted to springboard on is, we use information that we learn from the work we've done. And we survey our students. This is our website. These are the grade levels for the classes that we're offering for our programming. So we thought, oh my gosh, the kids last year, they loved digital photography. We were so excited about it. and we were going to buy all these things. And you know what? No one bit for the class. And so we ended up having to cancel Total Dance Experience. Last year it was a hit. This year, nobody wants to dance. So we had all of these offerings that we had at all of our different locations, because you can see every location has different. We have a junior test pilot that we are partnering with Blackbird Airport, and we're going there. And I still don't have this class full, but I'm not closing it. I'm hoping that there's going to be a miracle and we're going to be able to at least get 20 students. So there's planning. You can be intentional in your planning and think that you know, and then suddenly it doesn't turn out to be what you thought it was going to be. So I just want to, you have to be willing to be adaptable and flexible. Is it okay for me to share my video for advertising for the classes at this time?
Definitely, and help them understand how you got here, because I just heard you say they don't want to dance anymore. But if I recall in our conversation, your kids said, no, Jane, this is what we want this summer. So can you tell us a little about that?
We survey our students, we survey our families, and then when they sign up, it's evident if they're not signing up, like the overwhelming response. Now, last year we had we had AV Top Chef. The first year we did a chef class, and it was a great response. So then the following year we had to open up 3 classes. Well, this year we offered all of these classes that we thought there would be a menu for students to select. And we have to open up 9 chef classes because that's what they want. So they get to choose 2 options, and they chose sports and they chose cooking. That's what they want. There are other courses that we're offering, but those were the high demand. And if the high demand is, that's what they want. So then what we had to do is we had to find the people who had the credentials and the passion to teach that. Because if you're not into cooking, you can't teach cooking. So okay. So this is our promotional video. This is actually a teacher from last year that he came in as a please, will you do me a favor and teach this class? And because we needed an extra teacher, and he did it, and he was phenomenal. His passion, I walked in there and I was like, oh my gosh. And I approached him this year and I said, will you please be the lead chef? And he was like, me? And I said, yes, will you be the lead chef? Will you be the leader of all of the classes, which we didn't have 9 when we started. We figured 4, 1 more. And here he is being a good sport because he didn't know what he was getting into. And he said, sure, I'll be in your video.
This is Chef Hodges, and I have been cooking up a class for you. Get ready for a fun food experience. Smells good. What do we have cooking? You're going to get to make your own food and take some home. If you want to have fun this summer, sign up. You're going to have a great time. See you this summer.
So it is really incredible to build a class that every year we make it better, so that food and equipment exploration and career exploration, we are purchasing and have purchased. Now we need to buy more. We have crock pot, air fryer, griddle, and all of these tools, and students are actually going to get to cook because they have cooked. They're going to get to learn basics. And one of the things that is unique, and I know that you know this, Michelle, and it's not a part of this presentation, but we survey our students at the end of the classes to find out what they thought, what we could do better, what they liked, what they didn't like. In addition to what we ask the teachers to do, which is do that, check in those exit tickets to make sure that we're connected, that the work is being steered in the right direction. So just very exciting. I'm really excited about this class.
Well, and there's some love in the chat for you. So,
Oh, good.
you know, this is the thing, folks, like when we think about internal or external collaboration, right? And how we want to catch, let's be honest, we need to catch the eye and the heart and connect it for our administrators, our teachers, our staff, our parents, and our students. And so be thinking, how can I take my marketing game to the next level to share what this incredible experience can be in program?
And I want to say that one of the biggest things that, and I created videos for the dancing. I created, and the sports one. Actually, can I'll send the link out. It's too much. We don't have time, but I'll share it out. But the sports one was another big hit. And I say, we have people, and I too, I'm a visual. I like to see it. I like to hear it. So we will, even for our Saturdays, have program leaders. I will film a program leader, and we get more response when we do video flyers, not paper. It's like we double usually typically with a video flyer.
Thank you. So just another unique way, folks, to get your message out there in front of folks and to really excite them about the opportunity. And I think it's a wonderful way too to help people who really don't understand expanded learning. And summer's a little bit different too, right? We bring this camp feeling environment in. We really make it fun. And Intersession can be done the same way. And so in this moment, Sue, I'm just going to ask you to give a few remarks, if you would, about what it means to do summer and Intersession programming differently than maybe we do it in expanded learning. So you just talk about that generating that camp feel.
In order to get the kids excited, and Debbie and Jane have talked about it, is you need to engage the kids and do what they are interested in doing. And it really does help during summer and Intersession to get your staff, whether they're program leaders or whether they're, your teachers from the school day, to do something different that they enjoy doing. And by all means, survey the kids to find out what they're interested in doing. And, as you've heard Michael say, summer is the time to try something new. And if it doesn't work, well, you tried it. And if it does work, wow, maybe you can incorporate it into the school year. And it's a great opportunity to just experiment. Because what's the worst that can happen? The kids are going to say, no, this didn't work well. But take their input seriously and revamp and reframe and try it again. Call it something different so the kids may not think it's the same thing rewritten or redone, but it's a great time to try new things. Create a theme for your weeks or for the whole summer and, incorporate things around that theme and make it fun. Sing songs, do skits, do cheers, keep those kids moving, even if it's indoors because of the heat, like Jane mentioned, all of our, sports might be indoors or early in the morning. You can adjust. We know how to be flexible.
Thank you so much for that, Sue. And I know, Jane, I think you have a slide on this. And actually, I'm pretty sure in the transportation stuff that you were sharing, you talk about what the role is of staff in transportation to program and back. So if you could share that information as well. You're on mute.
Sorry, what we did was we worked together to create a single comprehensive plan that includes all of our programming. So we put ACES, ELO-P, and our UTK piece in for each of the 12 standards. So these are just samples of how we incorporated everyone. So you can see that with UTK, it's called out. And Kelly did this work because she ties it to the preschool framework. So that's what we incorporate in our work. And as you know, when the speaker at the very beginning talked about the nap time for the UTK, like there are so many different requirements, because also Kelly is licensed for state preschool. So we have to follow the most stringent requirements. So what we've done is we have written our program plan. And again, just extracting some pieces for you to see that we wrote everything. So our program plan is 43 pages long. And the reason it is like this is because we need to communicate to our providers. We need to communicate to our internal departments, and we need to collect the data using this plan so we can monitor, we can reflect, and plan again for our continuous improvement cycle. So our approach to the single comprehensive plan was very comprehensive because we're using it to guide and again, plan, reflect, assess, and continue the cycle of continuous improvement. I don't have the transportation component here, but
tell us about the role of staff.
Okay, so the role of staff. Okay, so the role of staff. Well, when we when we did the transportation, I thought we were going to be okay with the parent is going to be waiting with the child and the parent will be then picking up the child. We're going to be great. And then I had the reality check of, no, Jane, we're going to have to provide people because there are some people that may not show up and we can't leave the child. And so we're going to have to provide staff. Well, then we had the logistics of the amount of hours. So what we had to do is hire a 9-hour position. Actually, it's over a 9-hour position. So we're incurring a little of it, 1 hour of OT. But what we had to do is we have to have the person there at the start, and they are going to be greeting the students and working with the students to do chants and social emotional learning in a different setting on the bus, the same way, getting to the school. And then on the way back, they're going to be doing reflecting and sharing what they learned, because we have to keep the program alive and we have limitations for transportation. So I hope I touched upon what you wanted, Michelle. It's just, you have to get creative. And as a teacher, when I was in line, my students, I never wasted a minute. My students were either reciting sight words to me that we had learned, what's our word of the day, doing multiplication. And why? Because that's what I needed to do to make sure that I just kept the loop of learning happening. So the loop of learning will be happening during transportation.
Thank you, Jane. And so Debbie, thinking about summer, and it's different, right? It's one, expanded learning is different than extending the instructional day. We know that. And two, what we do in expanded learning is not a replication of the instructional day at all. It's expanding learning opportunities. So when we think about what's occurring in summer and Intersession and at LAUSD, can you give me like, how are you talking to staff and leaders about setting the stage and the tone for what you hope all children will be experiencing through what's occurring in your shop?
Sure. So our goal is to have students to have a summer of joy, right? So what are those things that kids are enthusiastic about? What are those things that they want to explore? And basically working with staff to help them figure out how to get to what those students are interested in. So having conversations with them and building your program around those conversations. Every program has a structure to it, and our agency partners have their own structure, but it's, primarily thinking about what is the first thing, what's your check-in going to look like with students? How are you then going to transition them to different components depending on what they're interested in? How are you thinking about bringing them back together and communicating with them and finding out and exploring with them about what they're interested in? And also really thinking about, it is like a camp-like experience for them. So some of our schools, in fact, a lot of them create themes for the summer. They'll either do like cartoon characters or superheroes, and that will be their theme throughout the summer to be able to individualize the site, but they work with the students to figure out what that theme might be.
Thank you so much for that, Debbie. All right, Sue, I'm going to come to you for just a second. And what I'm interested in, folks, we know that this is really important. You know that you're having to look at, there's an expanded learning opportunity program template. There's the quality standards for expanded learning programs in California. And there is a CQI, a continuous quality improvement part of this work. And so in our shop, we created a CQI toolkit that we use that's, brings in the quality standards, can be used to help you develop out your ELO-P template. And or for those of you who also have an ACES, you have an ACES program plan that you have to do as well. But Sue, would you mind just help people understand the CQI toolkit at a very high level? Like, what can they expect when they get in there? How can this help them in taking what they're learning now, the data they're learning now, but how important it is to apply that iteratively to a successful next year too, please?
All right, so the CQI toolkit, it consists of 3 webinars, the slides to those webinars, and a lot of the tools that we utilize to get you from point A to point C, which is the quality improvement. We share in the toolkit different ways to do surveys and assessments, because there's many different ways. And what we learned when we did this project was it's not as easy as you think it is to create a survey to get the data that you're really looking for. And so creating a survey is more challenging than one might think. And so spend some time really going through that information to make the best survey, because if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right data and you have to start over again. We also talk about how to analyze the data that you've gotten, the qualitative analysis and whatnot. And so that's in there. And we also provide you with how to develop SMART goals based on the data that you determined. And what do you want to improve in your program, which you're discovering based on your assessment data because you're assessing a specific area. And we give you an action plan tool and talk you through how to fill it out. It's rather complete. And then, when you finish your CQI process and after you have implemented what you're trying to do, hopefully you see progress, there's a reflection template to have you think about the whole process that you've taken. For when you restart your next CQI cycle, you have an idea of what to go with. We developed this to be site specific. However, you can use it for your whole program. It's a wonderful tool to use as in-house training. It is totally self-guided. And if you do have questions, simply contact me and I can help talk you through it.
Thank you so much, Sue, for sharing that. All right, folks, we are nearing our end, but there are a couple things I want to be sure that we tackle. And if you have a couple of questions, throw them in the chat. We'll try to tackle those as well. I want to come back to the developmentally appropriate staffing, right? Because nuance here, TKK, and let's be clear about ratios when we're talking about ELO-P and or braiding with ACES. TK and K must be 1 to 10 in ratio when you're braiding, unless in the case of Lancaster, you're working with a more restrictive licensed program and they have an even tighter ratio. But when we're looking at ELO-P and ACES without any other restrictions, then it is 1 to 10. If it's ACES only, it's 1 to 20, if that makes sense. But Jane, at this point, I'm going to call on you because I know that you created TK positions that are developmentally appropriate for summer, Intersession, and will work into your overall program, of course, your year-round program. So if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you. So what we did was, and again, the position was created with Kelly Fountain. We needed because of the needs are different, you cannot just have someone working with the younger students without having the expertise and the framework for the age group. We developed positions that, and as you can see, that are structured around instruction planning, safety, culture, and other. And for this position, this is a summer learning facilitator, someone who's going to lead the work. And the minimum requirement is that they have a child, an associate teacher permit is the minimum. So just like you have the instructional aid requirement, this is our requirement. We're looking for people who have the expertise so they can lead the work. And then what we did, this is a new position for us this year. And what we did was we reshaped our summer support leader position, because this position looked very different in a hybrid program. This position was supporting hybrid work. So what we did was we shifted the job description and created this position so they have some understanding of early learning experience. And I only took the snapshot because underneath there is the minimum ability. But this position would be working with the facilitator and also supporting the summer school and after school support and working with our provider. I mean, we are very fortunate, and I am very fortunate to have worked with Sandy Denkovsky for as long as I have in different programs, because I know how I can then support some of the work that we're doing that's going to look different, because she's doing some in-person delivery and some of it is going to actually be doing some virtual push-in with in-person support leaders. So it's a first for our district. We're excited that Sandra is working with us on this. But it really is going to expand our ability to get into more rooms to do that work. So these are two positions that we're actually going to be sharing the job descriptions with you in a resource template that we've developed.
Thank you so much, Jane. So there's a lot of opportunity here, right? And a lot of different lenses and perspectives to look at, and to, having folks at the table and inviting them in and saying, okay, how do we do this together and create something that's seamless and it's going to be new, and try it on. So I just love that. So, all right, we have like 7 minutes together. I'm going to ask Jane and Debbie right now in particular. I want you to think of 3 last things that you think are really important you want to share with our audience today. Like, what are the 3 takeaways in the work that you've done so far, either how to get through something or what's next, what to be thinking about, whatever it is, just 3 things that you'd like to leave the audience with. And folks, do you have any questions? If you do, please drop them in the chat. We'll utilize any time that we have remaining to tackle that. But I think that Debbie and Jane have probably some pro tips for you. And then I will summarize and we'll move that way. All right. Who's ready to go first? Jane, Debbie.
I think we should rock, paper, scissors it, Debbie.
That one.
You can go, Jane.
Oh, thank you. For me, I think the biggest thing, and of course, I'm going to give it to you in a visual because that's the way I do. I'm going to say this. This is what we do and why we do it. Never forget the work you're doing is going to impact the children. So we've got to fight to make sure that the right work is done. And we've got to make sure that when we get a no, that you don't give up and you try to find another way to do it. Because if it is the right work, you've got to do the right work. And the right work can be hard and challenging, and people may not understand. So that's the biggest thing, is always keep it student-centered. Always do what's best for kids, even though it sometimes is the harder path. The second thing is make sure that you seek partnerships with people who are passionate, equally as passionate about the work, and are not just, it's not just a job. It's like that they are in the same space and are living your, and are connected to your mission and vision, because that's super critical. You've got to have the right people. And I think also really try to get the people that you're working with, and if you're with a school district or inside a school district, try to just establish those key relationships with your early learning people, because early learning is essential in this work. And honestly, you really need to have those people working alongside of you to support the work, so you can do more because you have another thought partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Debbie.
Just really briefly, I would say this. You already know the work, and you know the work that has to get done. You're all experts in your field, and it's what you're passionate about. That's why you're here today. You're spending this time. So just know that whatever you decide to do is perfect in and of itself. And if you keep waiting to go, no, it has to be a little bit better, it has to be a little bit better before you start, you're never going to start. You can always make it better. You know, I like to say that we're never cooked, right? So it's never going to be done. It's the work, and it's your experience in that work that makes you stronger and better at what you do. And the children that we serve deserve you to take that first step. They deserve you to say, I'm going to do this. I have no clue what I'm doing. Look, I've been in this business for 40 plus years. I still don't have a clue. I can be completely honest about that. I make it up as I go along, but I know that I have the right intent. So as long as you start there, I think you're going to be fine in whatever it is that you do. And the other thing I would say is that often we all live inside bureaucracies, no matter what they are, whether they're a smaller bureaucracy or a large bureaucracy. And bureaucracy, in and of themselves, they're not bad, right? It's the behaviors and the conditions that they perpetuate that are challenging. So don't take that challenge on. Be yourself inside that bureaucracy, and you're going to be fine, because you all have the right heart to do it, and you can do it. So be yourself. Nobody's expecting anything different. We participate in systems that we think expect something different, but we have to be the people that change that. So those would be the two things I would leave you with.
Debbie, thank you so much. You guys, I'm telling you right now, your work is our work, and our work is your work. And I'm stealing that from Jane, because she said it to me earlier today. And I was like, damn, she dropped that mic on me right there. It's true. Debbie, everything that we do together, and it's how we bring our whole heart to this work. And it's okay not to have the answers, but let's invite everybody to the table and create something that's going to be really incredible for our kids, our families, our schools, our staff, and see what happens. So with that, please help me to send thanks to Jane and Debbie, to Sue and to Marty. I want to thank you all for being here. Please, when you go back today, rate us. We appreciate that, because it helps Can know if we met your needs. And if you have any questions, you have contact information to reach Debbie, myself, Jane, and Sue in the attendees drop down, and for Jane, myself, and Debbie in the presenters drop down. And we would love to hear from you. With that, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here with us, and go forth, onward. Let's do this.
Michelle, thank you for being such a wonderful facilitator, everybody. Michelle, a round of applause.
To all of you.
Thank you,
Much
everyone.
love, you guys.
Have a great day.
Bye. And if you're hanging around and have a question, happy to take it.
Good to see everybody. Thank you, Marty, for helping. Inglewood never can open a Dropbox, so sometimes I talk with Emily and she fixes it. So whenever you get a chance, I appreciate that.
No problem. I'll send it right over.
And Miss Deanna, thank you too. And we run summer, and it's our second year, and we're themed out, and I'm bringing everything from the rooter to the tutor, from Girl Scouts to folklorical dancing, everything they've asked for. So it's going to be, I would say, even better year of it. But being able to do this, that whole 9 hours and moving forward, this was definitely a great session. And as always, boss, Michelle, Perrenoud, you're awesome. Miss Sue, thanks for your expertise, and everyone have a good day.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Thank you.